You are listening to the Ponchatoula Podcast with your host, Parker Larison. We bring you local news and community interviews from the Ponchatoula-Hammond area. Located at the crossroads of I-12 and I-55, deep in the bayous of South Louisiana. Parker is a husband, father, personal injury attorney, author, and community volunteer who is on a mission to share the unique food, culture, events, and people of Ponchatoula with the world. And here's your host, Parker Larison.
What would your life be like if you could not take care of yourself? Imagine a world in which you were unable to drive yourself to work each day, to perform your job, to earn a living, to support your family, to do the things that you need to do to get through this life with a roof over your head and food in your belly and everything else you need. What if it was just impossible to do that for yourself? Imagine how tough that would be. Think about how you might feel. It would just be really, really difficult. And of course, you would need the support of your community around you, wouldn't you? Of course, you'd need to rely on the charity and goodwill and support of others. Well, that's why it's so important that we have organizations here in our local community like TARC. TARC is a nonprofit that is dedicated to helping people with disabilities reach their full potential. It is a wonderful organization. And I can tell you that because I've worked with them firsthand over the years and seen them just work magic. And I've helped them raise some money here and there through their Radiothon program, which is wonderful. I've donated to their special Miss Louisiana beauty pageant that was founded by Miss Robin Abrams. And it's just a delightful event. And I have seen the impact it's had in people in our community. And when I say our community, this is a broad organization. It serves the entire Florida parishes. But it does wonderful, absolutely essential things. And it needs our help to do that. It's funded in part by state funds, but we all know the state of Louisiana is always broke. And every year when they make cuts, they always hit two things, education and healthcare. Well, guess where TARC's budget comes from? Those places. So they really rely on the support of the community. Financial support, donations, of course, are always welcome, but also volunteers. You know, they need help in many, many ways. And, you know, you're going to learn a bit today about how you can help them. But more importantly, you're going to learn about the great things that they're doing in our community. The TARC ambassador this year is a Ponchatoula kid, and he is just a beautiful little bundle of joy named Grady Wheeler. He's got a beautiful mother who's a Ponchatoula girl. I think her husband is from La Ranja. They live here in Ponchatoula. They're just a wonderful young couple, and their kid is just really special. And you're going to hear Kathleen talk about their story, talk about her own story. She's not just the director of TARC. She's a mother who's raised a special needs son. And so she knows firsthand what goes into that, what they need. And I think that's just part of what makes us special here. Because if we're to judge a society by how it treats its most vulnerable members, the fact that we have organizations like TARC, like Options, and the fact that we support them, and the fact that they attract such dynamic leaders as Kathleen Abels and Tammy Earls and Mary Perosco and Sylvia Bush and all these wonderful women and other people that have led them over the years, the fact that that happens here locally in Hammond, in Ponchatoula, in Springfield, in this local area, that says a lot about how we're doing things right here. So the world's got a lot of problems. We can't fix them all today. We can't begin to cover them on this podcast. But I can tell you, TARC and our local community is doing its very best when it comes to children and others with disabilities and serving their needs. And I can't wait for you to hear about how we're doing that by talking to Kathleen. Welcome back to the Ponchatoula Podcast. I'm your host, Parker Larison, and I have with me today a very special guest with TARC, Kathleen Abels, their CEO. Kathleen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and TARC?
Well, again, I'm Kathleen Abels. I am from Springfield, born and raised there.
Right up the road.
Oh, yeah. It's a sweet little small town. I'm actually right outside of Springfield, a little town called Killian.
Oh, well, you know what? This is going to be a scandal from the Ponchatoula Podcast. I'm actually from Killian, too.
Oh, okay. So
very few people know this because my family's pretty much always lived here in Ponchatoula. But between the time I was born until I was about 2, we actually lived on a farm in Killian.
Really?
So
Where
my birth
at?
certificate says Killian, not Ponchatoula.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt your story, but
Well, that's good to know.
I hadn't thought about Killian in a while until you said that. So
It's a small little sweet town.
Yeah.
I really love it. I grew up there. Actually, I was the mayor there from 2005 to 2009.
come on, whoa.
Yeah, my grandfather, Otis Ratcliffe Sr. and Otis Ratcliffe Jr. were both mayors at one point in time. And so I just kind of had the politics in my blood.
Yeah, well, the Ratcliffe name's really well known
Yeah.
around here. Everybody knows them. I didn't know that was your maiden name. So
we learned a lot today, just in the
already.
first minute. But yeah, that was my grandfather and my
Okay.
uncle. And my uncle, Otis Jr., was actually the youngest mayor in the United States.
What?
He was
Come on.
18.
18 and
Yes.
mayor. Wow.
So it was just a town I grew up in, and I loved it. And kind of got into I was the clerk for several years as I was going through college. And at that point in time, I just kind of wanted to give back. So it was very interesting. It was 2005 to 2009. And I went through Katrina. So that was a learning experience. And ironically, that's where I kind of came into TARC. Mm-hmm. In 2009, I interviewed for the position as Chief Executive Officer. And at that point in time, I was happy. I was with the Springfield Head Start, Regina Celli. But I have a little bit of background. Like I said, I was born and raised in Springfield, Killian area. And married to Richie Abels. I have 2 children, Jay and Erica.
Okay.
And Jay is 29 years old, and he was born preemie, 2 pounds, 14 ounces. And about 13 months, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Oh, wow.
So that's where my kind of life took off there because it kind of changed my whole world and my life and where I was looking at things. So as the years went by, I finished college, went to work for the Head Start program, loved that program. It was a great opportunity. But the position at TARC came available. Jay actually went to TARC as a baby through the early intervention program. And so a couple people had contacted me and said, that position at TARC's available. I think you'd be great. Well, I didn't know if I wanted to do it professionally or personally, because it's a lot to do your profession and then go home and have your personal life be the same, dealing with disabilities. But something kind of nudged me to do that. So I interviewed.
Thank God, because you've been so great at it. I mean,
thank you.
I've been watching TARC during that entire time period. It's been special to me and my family. And wow, you've done a wonderful job. So thank God you found that calling and pursued it.
Well, I took that opportunity to say, hey, I think that families might say or feel that, hey, she gets it. She understands. Because you can tell somebody you understand, but if you haven't walked that walk.
Yeah, sure.
You can be, in that situation with individuals, but when you've actually done those things, they feel, hey, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm feeling. And I've had that opportunity to do that with quite a few of my families to say, I've been there, we've done this, and these are the outcomes. And it gives them a sense of peace, like, okay, I have a shoulder I can kind of lean on and say, hey, is this something I'm feeling okay? Or we're in this direction. Are we doing everything we're supposed to be doing?
Right.
So
I'm sure you build trust so much more quickly when people know that you've kind of walked in their shoes and know what they're going through.
I think that's where my passion came out. And I said, I can do this personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And, if you ask my son, Jay, he'll tell you he got me the job because I had so much experience. I did tell him, I said, because of my experience with you and what we've been through all the years, I said, that helped me with this job. So he'll tell you he
prepared you for it,
he was the shoe-in for that position. So he likes to take the credit for that sometime. But like I said, TARC is a great organization. We've been around for 45 years this year.
Oh, wow. Well, tell us a little bit about the history, because I think a lot of us know what TARC does. You're so active in the community. You serve our community so well, but not everybody kind of knows about the humble roots that TARC had and the TARC and options history and how it diverged. And why don't you share some of that with us?
It's a great story. Actually, in 1958, Miss Mary Porosco, who is very well known.
What a legend. She's on my list. I'm very hopeful she'll come on the show.
Oh, I think she will.
Yeah,
she has
great.
a lot to share.
Yeah.
Miss Mary Porosco moved to this area from Illinois, and she actually had a son with a disability, and there were no services here. There just wasn't anything being offered. So she took the bull by the horn, and she began getting information, trying to get everything in place to get those services. And by 1973 is when we actually began providing services.
Okay.
At that point in time, it was considered just the Tangipahoa area.
Okay.
So TARC is part of the ARC of U.S. and the ARC of Louisiana, the ARC. Now, back then they put T on the front of it because it was Tangipahoa.
When did it extend into the Florida parishes beyond Tangipahoa?
I would say in the 90s.
Okay.
Back in 89, once Miss Mary had gotten things off the ground and services, and there was a lot of people involved in that, and you really need to get Miss Mary because she could tell you a lot of names out there that helped her get to that point.
Sure. Well, I can promise you we're going to invite her on here because she's a hero of mine. And, of course, she lived that history, so we'll get her to fill in the blanks of anything you may pass over here. Yeah,
she's a wonderful person to listen to because the knowledge and what she's seen, what it's been, where it's come, it's pretty interesting. And she got that group of people together, and so in 1973, they actually started providing services at a Methodist church.
Okay.
And then, as you can see, things expanded. Now, in 1989, at that point, Miss Mary's son was getting older, and so they were looking at what services were being provided. So we see that we have our babies, but then we had these babies growing up to being adults, and their needs were changing.
For sure.
So Miss Mary, they met, and so in 89, Miss Sylvia Bush was the executive director of TARC. Well, she went with, they created the options.
Okay.
So part of the board went with options, and Miss Sylvia Bush, and then stayed back. There was another executive director, and forgive me for not knowing that, but then Miss Tammy Earls came in, I think,
I was hoping we get to Tammy because, of course, she's here in Ponchatoula, very well-known financial advisor, and she's president of your board now, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
It's exciting to see how the world comes around again.
Yeah.
She was the executive director in the 90s, and she actually ran TARC, and that's at that point we were serving around 200 babies.
Oh, wow. 14
therapists, and so TARC was serving the babies, and then Options went and started serving the adults to see what options were out there for them to explore as far as employment. And Miss Sylvia Bush and Miss Mary did a phenomenal job of getting these individuals into placements.
Yeah. And they've worked so well. They've been such an incredible tag team for our area to have, because now we have not one, but two incredible organizations serving, folks with special needs. And they're just women that bring class and hard work and just a million great qualities to that. And now you are perfectly in line with them. You're doing the same thing. And it's kind of neat to see the torch be passed from them to Tammy to you. And I'm sure you're bringing younger people in the fold so that someday, hopefully way off in the future, when you decide to pass the torch, people will be ready. That's really exciting.
Well, to talk about your Ponchatoula area, we have Miss Sue Mathis, who lives right here in Ponchatoula.
She's my neighbor. I pass her house just about every day, strolling my boys from my house to my parents on 7th Street. Yeah, she's been there for 35 years?
36
years.
36.
Whoa, I'm getting old.
36 years. Yeah. She's been serving our early intervention program, and that's the babies from birth to 3. Yeah. And that's one of the most important points in that child's life because that's when they meet their milestones.
Yeah.
So she's been employed with TARC for right at 36 years.
She's such a special lady. I mean, I just love her and her husband and that whole Haight family. Speaking of maiden names, her family's a great one in Ponchatoula, and we're real proud to have them in our community.
Well, Dr. Haight is in my Hammond Rotary.
Yeah.
And he just announced, I want to say he's going on 50 to 52 years as a dentist in Hammond.
Come on, whoa. Well,
he might be one on your list.
He's been my dentist. I love him. I absolutely would love to have him on the show. He's just a great guy overall. In our Rotary Club, always the governor, the lieutenant governor, something like that. And he's always coming down to our club to kind of keep us in the loop and help inform us. And he's just a great guy. He's a wonderful man. You see him active in his church and everywhere else. He's a great guy, as is his sister that works with you. I'll be right back with the rest of our interview in just a moment. You know how car crash victims struggle to pay for the medical care they need? Well, at the Parker Larison Law Firm, we help busy families recover after car accidents so that they can rest easy, pay their medical expenses without worry, and move forward with their lives. We do this by sharing our free accident handbook, battling Goliath insurance companies, and treating our clients like family. Our clients say we help them save time and recover the money they deserve so that they can focus on getting well and living normal lives again. If you were injured in a car, truck, or motorcycle accident, give us a call now, 985-467-9525. Well, tell us more about your board. You've got Tammy as the president. Is it an experienced board? Is it folks that have been with you a while? Is it new members, a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. Uh-huh. We had my goal when I came to TARC in 2009, I want to say it was around May of 2009, and TARC serves the Florida parishes. And I know we've talked about Tangipahoa, but in the 90s, it expanded into Florida parishes, all the way up from St. Tammany, Washington Parish, all the way to Livingston Parish.
Yeah.
And TARC is known in Tangipahoa, but it didn't have that expansion of knowledge in the Livingston Parish area. So that's where I'm from. So I felt like, okay, this would be a good point for me to move it into the Livingston Parish area so that people would be more aware. And I think I've accomplished that, and I've gotten the TARC in that area and gotten President Leighton Ricks involved. Sheriff Jason R. has been involved. Just so that they could have the knowledge to be able to pass on the information about TARC.
I saw my friend Ivy Graham as your secretary.
Yeah.
She's a great Livingston Parish attorney and just a wonderful lady. So clearly you've infiltrated that community, and you've got influential people that are doing well out there serving on your board and volunteering.
And Ivy, actually, I met through a BNI networking.
Oh, okay. That's a great organization.
That's how I met her. And Paul Calinoto, which is actually one of my board members of 9 years, Josh Randall from Springfield actually put us together in my first year. And he's like, look, this guy would be awesome for you. And if you ever have the opportunity to go on our TARC website or YouTube, Google TARC Hammond. And you'll see years of ambassador videos.
His films are incredible. Yeah, tell us about the films. Obviously, we're a audio only program, so we can't show them to you. But why don't you tell the listeners kind of about these videos and what y'all aim to do with them and how Paul does it?
Well, I said, I wanted to try something different and new. I wanted to get those family stories out there. So Paul said, okay, we can do this. Well, Paul has done the 9th story of our ambassador families. And every year I'm thinking, how can he wow me again?
Yeah, because these films are like Academy Award level productions. They're real. They can be tear jerkers. They're moving. They're inspirational. They just really dive in at your heart. They're really good.
And you wonder, how can that next story get any better? And he does it every time. He just, I think about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, he sent me. He said the video's been complete. I'm sending it over to you. I'm thinking, okay. And if it never fails, it's gonna bring a tear to my eye. And I know the family. I know all about them. But to hear their story being told from their point of view and the way Paul captures these families, I feel like these videos of our ambassadors can maybe reach a family or say, hey, I relate to that.
For sure.
That family, said or can do things that I feel, and then now I could feel like my child could accomplish those things. So I feel like they accomplished quite a few things. They accomplished that a family might hear it and learn something from it. Or it might touch them to the point of, you know what, let me contact that family. Or let me contact TARC because I need those answers. And so I feel like it accomplishes a lot, and it provides awareness. I show it to your Rotary.
Oh, it gets a reaction every time. It's just like, incredible.
What is it? Not as they say, can't hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Everyone is focused, and I can just tell you who I am, what I'm doing, and who I'm representing, and the video does the rest.
Well, I'll tell you, we see 50 speakers a year, and you're one of the best that comes to Rotary every year.
Oh,
but I can tell you, that video is probably the only time throughout the year when everybody puts away their iPhones and actually pays 100% attention to what's being presented, because you just can't look away. It captivates your attention, and you so much better understand the experience of these families. And your ambassadors, you always do a great job of picking incredible people. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about one of your latest ambassadors, because he's a great Ponchatoula boy, and that's Grady Wheeler. So why don't you tell us about Grady and his family and how he's done as an ambassador this year?
Well, it's amazing because you never know how people get involved in TARC. And Grady's parents are phenomenal. They're a young family. And you're thinking, they're looking at, this whole new adventure, new baby. And I think they weren't prepared for this situation that was going to occur. And I find that, and I see it, they have a huge family support.
Yeah. Well, their family, I don't know Grady's dad. I think he's maybe from Laranja.
Yes.
But his mother, Haley, is from a really well-known and very well-respected Ponchatoula family. And you talk about it takes a village. That is a family that has done for the village for generations and generations. And they just have friends in every direction because they've been so good. They're givers at heart, and they're just wonderful people.
Well, I think that video, which was probably about our 8th one, I was so moved by the story that Haley and the way they told their story from her and Kyle, from the moment she was pregnant to the moment he was born, and their adventure. And it was amazing to hear. And one of Paul's comments were, when he did their video, that was his 8th one, he said, they said what other parents wanted to say but never could.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, wow, you're right. And to see a young couple, and you've seen the video, to see a young couple grab that situation and with family support just make great strides. Oh, yeah. Grady's had surgery within the year.
For sure.
He's getting early intervention services from Ms. Sue Mathis right here in Ponchatoula. Yeah. And he is meeting those milestones. And with his family representing us again this year, if you haven't seen this video, they talk about people first and the language. For 1 year, to see what they've learned and how much they've explored, how they want their son to be perceived in the community and all around. Yeah. I was moved. I didn't know what to expect from the second video. And again, what they do, they moved
away
me.
Once again. Well, imagine, if you could, switching gears from your role as CEO to mom, what an impact that would have made on you 29 years ago. I can't imagine how lonely that feels when you're first dealing with the news of that type of situation. But to be able to be one click away via the TARC website, YouTube, wherever, to be able to see the video of these incredible parents hitting a grand slam with, what appeared to be at first an off-speed pitch. I'm using a baseball analogy. Of course, Kyle's a big baseball player. But, it has to be so inspirational. I know it is for me, for someone who's just a supporter of TARC and a donor and a friend of people in that situation. But it must really be helpful, especially, and I'm thinking of those single moms out there that don't have the giant family support that a Haley Gordon Wheeler would. Seeing that video must really help those folks, kind of find friends and support where they maybe didn't see it before.
You touched on a very big clue. It takes a village. And when you get this situation and you look at this big picture and you're overwhelmed, family is huge. I was very fortunate. I was 19 when Jay was born, 2 pounds, 14 ounces. I thought everything was great because there was no visible concerns or issues. But when he turned around 10, 12 months, I could tell some things were just, not quite right, as far as his fine and gross motor. But I was very fortunate. I had an aunt, Diane Childers. She worked in the developmental disability field for close to 30 years.
Was she local there in Springfield?
Yeah, she was my aunt. Buddy Ratcliffe, Otis Ratcliffe. She was the oldest of the group. Okay. My mother was the middle child and my uncle was the baby. She had been in that field, so she was able to direct me. Right. Back in 91, 90, it wasn't as click on Google or click a word and then there it's all for you. So she pretty much put me in the right direction of who I needed to talk to, who I needed to see, getting him diagnosed and moving forward. And so I was very fortunate because in the early 90s, there was no Googling.
You just take for granted what you can find online now. And that had to be a lot tougher back then.
And then a friend of mine that I graduated with, Lori Hoover Barriant, and also her husband, Mac Barriant, he was in the process of being a physical therapist. And they bought me a book. It was for parents with a child with a disability, and it focused on cerebral palsy. Okay. That book taught me more than I could ever imagine. But that's what you had back then. Yeah. You had to go find the books, read the books. And that book was huge because it told me what I was going to experience. You were going to be angry. You were going to be, you had 5 stages you were going to go through.
Yeah, just like the stages of grief. I'm sure it's a very similar process.
And I reached every one of those. Yeah. But that book prepared me for what I was going to be doing. And I've passed the book several times, but I had that support. But I just can't imagine families that don't. So that's why TARC, you don't have to be a client of TARC's. But if you know that you're in that situation and you need answers, that's why we put our website up there. Well, that's why we want you to call and say, here I am. What do I do? And then we tell them, this is who you call. This is what you do. I mean, you don't have to be a client.
Yeah.
And when time comes and you receive services, we would love to have you. But we want you to have the resources and the information you need because
you need
it's
a guide.
not going to find you.
You know, I remember Haley said something, and it's been probably close to a year since I saw the video, so forgive me for misquoting it, but I was really impacted when she said something about how you had to mourn the loss of the child you were expecting before you could kind of move into acceptance of the situation and supporting this wonderful blessing of a child you have. And I can't imagine how tough that would be without a guide, without a resource, whether it's a friend who gives you a book or somebody who's anonymous to you on a website that you click through and discover TARC. But you guys are sharing that. You're putting people like her or yourself in contact with people that haven't yet experienced it and need that guidance. And that's so critical. And one of the great ways you're getting the word out is it seems like you always have great community events. You know, as you know, I participate in the Radiothon, which is a different part of the year. But right now, you've got some exciting stuff coming up with a golf cart raffle and penny power. Is that right? Is that
golf cart? Here we go. We're back to Ponchatoula.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Golf cart. Our golf cart. This is our 5th annual custom built golf cart provided by Cart and Swim right here in Ponchatoula.
Yeah, really neat store.
Great resource. They were listening to Radiothon. Friends of Vince Marcanti and Tim Reitz. We all know who they are.
Yeah, of course.
And they contacted Vince and Tim and said, look, we heard y'all on the Radiothon and we want to do something for TARC. So they kind of were talking in the backgrounds and they called me. So I went over to Vince's and they said, we want to, donate a golf cart. Let's raffle it off and let's see what happens. And they said, we have an idea of the first one, and it was a Saints golf cart.
I remember the sports theme. That was really cool.
Drew Brees signed it. We had 9 signatures plus his.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was a hit. And so we are now in our 5th year.
Well, tell us about the cart this year. What's it going to be like?
Oh, this cart is awesome. It is I guess you say patriotic. It's red, white, and blue. It's been hand painted, not wrapped. It's hand painted, airbrushed.
You don't see that much anymore in 2018.
No. It's got the Statue of Liberty on the front with the red, white, and blue. Just a beautiful golf cart. Beautiful wheels. Everything is kind of color coordinated. White seats with the white top. It's been pretty popular.
I bet.
I'll tell you, the tickets are going quickly.
Yeah.
The drawing.
Tell us how you can get tickets if they're still available.
Well, you can get them at Cart and Swim right here in Ponchatoula. Right. You can go to Vince's at B&M Supply. You can get them from TARC. Just contact TARC. We have them there at the office.
What's the phone number or website, or how should they contact you? 985-345-8811. And then our TARC website is tarc-hammond.com.
Okay. And you could actually look at our calendar and our website and see some of the activities. It's going to be raffled off November 30th.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully this episode gets out by then. We release on November 1, so we will make it a point to speed this up and try to get it out in time.
Appreciate that.
Tell us about Penny Power. That's something you guys have been doing forever, every year, and it's really neat. I know the kids in the schools get incredibly excited. Everybody that helps you with Penny Power, it's really get the juices flowing type of event. So tell us about what that is.
Penny Power has been around for 28 years in the school system. So I'm sure if you were in the Taylorsville school systems, if you're listening to this podcast, you have either been in school or your children or grandchildren have hit you up for change. It could be anything from pennies, nickel, dimes, quarters, cash, and checks. We haven't moved to the credit card. But it's amazing to see what Taylorsville school systems have allowed us to do. We go into each school. We provide a jug for each teacher to put on their desk. Yeah. Their goal is $75. If that classroom meets that $75 goal, we then provide them with a pizza party.
Oh, that's cool.
And those kids want to reach that goal.
I bet. I remember it. I was in Ponchatoula High less than 28 years ago, and that was always a big goal of ours for sure.
And we have raised as much as $60,000. And on the last 5 to 6 years, we're on the average of around $30,000.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It's still, it's a great opportunity for us to provide awareness in the school system for the students to see our ambassadors. for families to be aware of the information, because we send home a little flyer letting them know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that flyer could touch a family to say, you know what, family member, friend, that flyer could touch someone and they could actually contact us because they need that information. And we like to keep that awareness for these young students to be aware that, you know, just because there's a special need or there's something a little bit different, that, you know, that to be more accepting and,
for sure,
you know, be that buddy or, you know, that person that looks out for an individual. That it's just, that's so important.
Well, what I love about it is not only is it obviously raising much needed funds for such a great organization, but like you're saying, you're getting the awareness out and you're educating kids. And then more importantly, you're involving kids in a charitable cause. I mean, for many kids, they may not have done something like this before. This might be their first time to be able to feel what it's like to help somebody or to help an organization that needs you. And you may be spawning a lifetime of community service in kids. You know, it may start. I remember well in high school, you know, I was president of the Key Club, and Mr. Danny Williams, who will be on the podcast here soon, he was he still is the advisor, you know, 20 plus years later. He does a great job. But they figured out just the genius of harnessing, you know, the enthusiasm of children to do something with a civic purpose. And we would go to Key Club to have fun and ironically eat pizza. We met at Mr. B's Pizza, which is now Jason's
that was the best
Flooring.
pizza ever.
Wasn't it great? Oh, man.
I will tell you, that was the best pizza ever.
But, you know, you start out going because you want to go to the pizza, you know, meeting and maybe see a pretty girl or, you know, talk to your friends or whatever. But while you're there, you get a love for community service. And that's what leads you to later joining the Kiwanis Club or the Rotary Club or the Lions Club or whatever. And so I think Penny Power is kind of the baby step that gets kids going there. And because it's in the classroom, every kid's involved. You know, you can participate. It's not just one club that affects 100 out of 1,800 kids. You know, it's in every classroom.
I agree.
So that's neat.
And, you know, with that being said, TARC is always looking for volunteers. So I really like how the schools are encouraging students to do service hours because that they don't have an option. This is what's set forth to do. If you want to continue in this club or you want to move forward, I want you to be out in the community. And, you know, when they're out there, going out there and volunteering, then they become to have a passion and they go, wow. And I think that that's still important because we know the generations are changing.
For sure. That's a great point.
The point of getting them out there volunteering for a great cause, they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
But they're learning something that maybe will help them in later life.
Yeah.
It may find that they want to work with individuals with disabilities, or they may want to do something that they volunteered for. So I really hope that the schools stay in that mode of encouraging them to volunteer and that service hours are required because it really truly gives them a outlook of something they may have not seen.
Yeah.
So I hope they continue to do that.
I'm married to a social worker. She works in pupil appraisal in the Livingston Parish system. So she's dealing with children with special needs all the time. And, you know, you never know when something like maybe volunteering with this group will turn into something like a career. You know,
it will.
You just, and even if it doesn't, if it's just volunteering, you've created something really special that you can, you know, make part of your life. And I never feel better than a day when I volunteered or did something for others, you know. It's always a more fulfilling day than going to work. And even on your best day at work, making a pile of money, whatever, it's not going to feel as good as helping somebody else through volunteering and giving. You know, and you're offering that opportunity.
When you're talking about that, when we're talking about schools, I did, you know, don't want to tell my age, but I remember at elementary, right across the Springfield Elementary School was a preacher. It was the Methodist Church, and the preacher and his family lived there. And they had a daughter that was my age at that time who had a disability. And we were like a buddy system. And I always wanted to be part of her buddy system. Yeah. And who would have ever known that at one point in time that my first child would have a disability? And I want to say it probably was close to the same thing, cerebral palsy. She was able to walk, but she had a different gait. And to carry her book sack was not an easy task in like the lunchroom. And I always wanted to be a part of her buddy system, you know, and be a part of that because we would walk her across the street, you know, right before school got out.
Right. And
I kind of forgot about that, you know, as I got older and got in life. And then it just kind of came back to me a couple years ago. And I went, wow, you know,
that was your first little preparation.
Me, you know, who's to say that wasn't preparing me for what I was going to be doing in the future, you know, for my son and then for, you know, my professional life. So I got, in that position, and, back in the 70s, you didn't, really, a lot of people didn't allow individuals with disability in the community.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't
that was a big deal.
It wasn't as inclusive as it is today, and thank goodness it's moved in the right direction.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of ground to cover on that front, but we're way better off.
I think Miss Mary Prosco was a huge part of that.
Oh yeah, she wasn't going to take no for an answer. The thing about Miss Mary was you couldn't just blow her off. She was a very persistent person, and at a time when we really needed that. So,
and she's not. She's kind of retired, but she's not retired because if you need her to speak out or give her information, she is there and willing. Yeah, and her knowledge is so much. She has seen
she's
from the beginning
bright
to now.
Woman. She's really brilliant. You just any one of us that has listened to her on the radio over the years, you can just see a very bright wit there. Oh yeah, and just an incredible knowledge, not just of this, which has impacted her life and career so much, but just of many things. She can talk to you about anything in the world. Well, tell us another event that you have every year that's very special to my heart, that was brought to my attention by a dear friend, Robin Abrams, is the very special Miss Louisiana pageant.
Yes.
So please tell us about that, because I know that we've had some Ponchatoula people involved in that, and it's been a big impact on our community.
Well, the very special Miss Louisiana pageant was a dream of Robin Abrams. She is very close to the Latino family who, Maddie Latino, was born with Down syndrome.
And she was an ambassador years ago,
she
Maddie,
was.
right? Okay.
And not too long ago. And her family has been involved from everything from the Kids R Us daycare that we had, which we wanted all abilities and inclusive. Yeah. So they've been in that. They've been in the Children's Choice and the Now Waiver. So she's continued to be in the Children's Choice program, but we've followed this family from day one. And Robin has worked for TARC years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was the fundraiser before my time. Okay. And I came in 2009, and I think around 2008 is when her daughter became the Strawberry Queen.
Yeah. And Miss Robbins helped a ton of people, including my wife, to win Strawberry Queen. She's essentially kind of a queen whisperer of sorts. She
that is
can
her
train
passion.
You. Yeah, she's better at it than anybody in the world.
She has a passion for pageants, and she said that was always her goal and her dream. And so she came to me. She had left TARC for a while, but she came back as a board member, and she's like, I want to do this pageant. And she said, I've always wanted to do it. And I said, let's go for it. So we began the first year.
It's been a huge success.
Oh, it's been unreal because we promoted it through Lamar Advertising, through Lance Kern. And so he asked his other general managers throughout the state, would they please share?
Yeah. And Lance was on your board, right?
Yeah. Okay. Lance has been part of the board close to 18 years.
Oh, wow.
And so he basically put it out there, and the lieutenant governor, sitting in a red light, seen it flash. What? And contacted us.
You got to be kidding me. I had no idea that went down.
First year, contacted us and said, I want part of this. He actually came. Last year, he was not able to attend. The year before, he watched every young lady cross that stage.
That's amazing.
He donated our handicap ramp last year. But it's just a special event that gives the opportunity for that young contestant from birth to 40 to experience everything that a normal pageant would experience. Yeah. The moms, I love watching the parents personally, I guess because I'm the parent, to see their young daughter or young baby go across that stage and to be a part of such a great event. We have fairs and festival queens, over 35 to 40 that come to the event, and they buddy up with our contestants. Oh, that's and they neat. Take that edge off. And if they'll even go on stage with them. Yeah. We have the meet and greet party the night before, and we invite the families, and we have music, and they have fun. And I want to tell you, the highlight of it for me is to watch those families watch their young lady, the young little girl, enjoy something that they never thought they could. Yeah, yeah. We have a Veda Institute comes in and does hair and makeup.
Oh, that's neat.
President Robbie Miller has did a donation to pay for their entry fees. Okay. And then you, Parker Larison, has taken, and you donate all of our T-shirts.
And Miss Robin deserves the credit for that. That was her idea. I was happy to do it. And thankful you guys let me participate.
Everybody loves the T-shirts. So those T-shirts are worn all over the state representing the very special Miss Louisiana. Yeah. Now, don't be surprised. The way she drives that it might be televised. That is her goal. that pageant be televised.
It should be, and I hope it is sooner than later.
It's a beautiful event.
It really is. It's been neat to see people go through there and just really enjoy an incredible evening, like you said, that they never expected to happen. And you and Miss Robin and all the many volunteers that make that happen deserve a ton of credit, because you're really bringing brightness into lives.
Well, what she feels to be special is every little girl that participates gets a tiara,
right,
and a participating trophy. And someone always has to go home the queen, and you have your first, second, third runner-up. But every contestant in that pageant goes home with a tiara and a participating trophy. She felt that was important, and I love that part of it, because that tiara is just as special as anything else to those young ladies. They get to dress up, they get their hair and makeup done. It's a pretty emotional but exciting event.
Yeah.
And the first year, the only thing we didn't prepare for the first year, we thought fun pageant, a lot of smiles. Well, there was a lot of tears because of the excitement.
Have Kleenex in the house.
We had zero.
Well, let me know if you need some help. I'll be happy to donate Kleenex too, because you're right. That's something you got to prepare for.
Well, I love my Yvonne Salzman. She's at every fundraiser. She was working the door. Yeah. And I mean, it was tears of joy and tears of excitement. She's in the bathroom of the hotel, rolling up the toilet paper, coming out and passing it out. Next year, we were like, okay, we got to prepare. Never thought we needed tissue, but it's such a wonderful event to watch these young ladies get up on stage, and it's all about them.
Yeah, and they do great. It's just they make their parents and everybody involved so proud, because they're. And
thank you to Oak Tree Church right there on the service road, because we were running out of room. We needed a place big enough to house these families, because I'm going to tell you, the families, when they come, I had a family one year who had 12 family members. Whoa. Matching T-shirts.
Whoa.
Rooting for their contestant.
That's an entourage.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
It's everything that you have in a pageant. And it's just a special, special event. You don't have to know any of the contestants. Just come and see that.
It'll warm your heart for sure.
It will.
Yeah.
You don't even have to know the contestants, and it warms your heart. It's a really exciting event, because it's not only for the contestants, but it's for the families.
Yeah.
It's something that they get to do together.
Well, tell us about the people that help, switching gears a little, tell us about the people that help you put on Radiothon, because I know that's a big success every year.
Yes.
And I know you can't name everybody, so forgive us for those that get left out. But from the radio station to Miss Chauvin making the pies to just whoever, the first few people that come to mind, tell us about that event, because it's always, every year I do it, it's bigger and better than I expect. And you just, you see that the guest list is super impressive. Your list of quote unquote celebrities, it's always impressive and hardworking. And that seems like a really great community event where you're involving people on several levels, from the listening level to the celebrity level to the call-in level to the people cooking. I mean, there's tons of great food, from sandwiches and
they always
pies.
sell out.
Yeah, every year. So tell us about that. I know it's far away, but it'll be coming up in the spring.
It's right around the corner. It's in March.
Yeah.
Well, Radiothon is our biggest fundraiser and our oldest fundraiser.
Okay.
We're approaching our 35th year.
Oh, wow.
Of Radiothon.
Yeah.
And that Radiothon has been at the North Shore Broadcasting from day one.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's never been with any other radio station. That is our biggest fundraiser. That is our biggest fundraising as far as funds. And without North Shore Broadcasting and the owners from inception of 35 years ago till now.
Yeah, that's
we would not be.
The really neat part is several groups of people, several families have owned that over the years.
Yes.
And so nobody's ever pulled the plug and shut down, and everybody steps up and continues to support you. And that's something neat about our community, because I don't think you'd see that in a big city, but in a place like Hammond with a community environment, it's neat.
Well, with North Shore Broadcasting, I mean, they step out of the radio station for almost 2 days, and they let us take over, and they allow us to raise those funds to continue to do what we do, because state funding does not keep us with the doors open. If I didn't fundraise and bring in the funds, we would not have the doors open. It's a must. It is not something that I choose to do.
Right.
It's something we have to do.
It's the only way to keep the doors open.
That's the only way. And to be honest, it's the only way to keep the doors open. And with the North Shore Broadcasting radio station, there would be no fundraiser. And so we just give hats off to them, because they have to make a lot of provisions for us to come in there.
Yeah,
and Johnny Chauvin shared with us, he's been on it from day one.
Oh, wow.
As one of the DJs.
That's Johnny in the morning. Everybody
yes.
loves Johnny.
Johnny is, he hates it. He said it tells his age, but he has been on there ever since. We have, I'd like to say Miss Sandra Bailey Simmons. Her husband was Jake Bailey.
Yeah.
They've been on there from day one.
Oh, wow.
When he passed, Miss Sandra did not want to see that stop. So she has carried on his tradition.
That's neat.
Her and the children. And it's really there. She is the first person, first morning, because that's what Mr. Jake was. And nobody gets that spot.
She leads it off.
Yes.
Okay.
And then our second day is Mr. Ronnie Shalacy. He's retired chief in Hammond.
Yeah, great guy.
He has been on there from day one.
Okay.
And he is first person, second day.
Okay.
With his bell. Have you heard the bell?
No, I don't get up that early.
You didn't hear the bell?
I get in there. I don't get there till mid-morning. I didn't make the cut.
Well, about between 7:30 and 8:15, that bell will wake you up. Johnny and I and Ronnie are in that room together in a very, very small room. And he rings that bell for every donation. But he has dedicated all those years, 30 over close to 35 years of his time.
Yeah.
Even after he retired.
That's amazing.
He still came back.
He still kept coming back. That's neat.
And the funds, we raised through Radiothon. We've raised close to $90,000.
Oh, wow.
Each year is a different year. But those are the funds that, we continue to keep those doors open for TARC.
Why don't we talk about that for a second? Because I'm sure there are folks listening that would love to help. By now, if you're still listening, you either already love TARC or you're developing a love for TARC. And if you have the means, I'm sure you would want to help. And as you mentioned, state funding is constantly being cut. I can tell you as the husband of a social worker, you are always seeing social services on the chopping block.
Every time.
There's never enough money coming from the government. So if we want great programs like TARC to continue, we have to fund them through private donations. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that money's spent so that folks know, like I do, that you're not spending that on fluff. You are not going out and having a fancy CEO steak dinner with that money. You're putting it directly into programs that are benefiting kids and others. So tell us about that.
And you're exactly right, because we have several different programs. We have the early intervention program is through Miss Sue, has been with us 36 years. And we have the Now waiver programs, which there's about 4 different programs that you qualify for. And it may be because of age or by need. And then we have the TARC Day Hab. And so each individual program has their own funding through Medicaid.
Okay.
So we all know when Medicaid, you hear it on DHH, when it's cut, TARC is cut.
Right.
So,
and it's always getting cut.
Always.
Yeah.
When you're in the health and hospitals part of it. So the funding that we do receive goes straight back into our clients. I haven't been able to give a raise to our individuals in 8 years.
Whoa. So that folks like Miss Sue, who you mentioned earlier, they're doing it for love.
They're committed.
Yeah.
They're committed because, I'm not able, but they know that I'm not able to do those things.
Right.
TARC, every bit that we do, people call us all the time. Well, my family member passed. We have a couch. We got it. We'll take it. Because we have individuals that live in their own homes.
Sure.
And they don't have the means to just go out and buy a brand new couch. And we make sure this is good quality stuff.
Yeah, not junk.
I have family members call me all the time and said, does any of you clients need a new sofa? My mom passed away. Hey, we got a trailer. We're coming to get it. And so we live like we living for the clients. And so every bit goes back to the programs and to support these individuals, because what the goal and mission of TARC is to make sure that these individuals live in the community as you and I do.
Sure.
And they live on very, very fixed budgets. And so when we can do those things for them with donations, we always give it back to the clients. And if it's not just getting them to go to outings, we like to provide them with a quarterly get-together barbecue. Well, you got to have funds to do those things. Yeah. So we,
gotta buy the meat and the charcoal and all that.
But I always have my staff volunteer and we got this, we'll do it. And, I love them for that because, it's their own time. Yeah. And it just warms my heart to see them want to give back to them. Sure. And so all the funding that we have goes straight back into our programs and our clients.
That's neat. And once again, let's remind folks of your website and your phone number so they can contact you to donate.
Our website is tarc-hammond.com and our number is 985-345-8811. And we hope that our website is very informational for you and you learn something from it and you know who to contact.
It's a beautiful website. I don't know who did it, but you've got great photos and video.
Ponchatoula, Legend.
Yeah. Oh, well, those guys, the Benson brothers,
yes.
and there are many other great workers at Legend. They're awesome. Those are great guys.
So I might have need an office in Ponchatoula with all the.
You need to. You got a lot of Ponchatoula talent involved in TARC through and through. So that's pretty neat. Kathleen, I've kept you probably longer than I should have, and I want to thank you for your time. But as we close, I appreciate
you having me.
Is there anything else we haven't covered, or anything you want to share about yourself, about TARC, about our community, just anything?
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity of being here to be able to talk about TARC, because the more awareness I can provide in the community, if you and I are having this conversation in this podcast, we touch a family, or if someone hears the information that you and I have shared, that it helps someone. Yeah. And you calling me and saying, hey, come to join me. I'd like you to come talk about TARC. That is what I need. I need people to help me get that information out there. And this is a great way of doing it. And I think this new podcast you have going is going to be great, because the community needs to be aware.
Well, thanks for saying that. And I'll tell you, we have a long list of people that I wanted to call to interview, and I hope to get to them, and a long list of people that folks have told me, you need to call so-and-so, and I had to fit you in on the top 10, because there's no charity that's more important to me than TARC. Your program helps people all over the Florida parishes and really beyond, because folks will take your services and build that foundation there, and ultimately move to other places, and you're really changing lives throughout America, really.
And that we go to the golf cart. I went to Cruising on the Coast with the golf cart. They let me in to sell tickets, and a lot of people came to my table and said, "Wow, I live in Arkansas. I have a family member." Well, I'm able to tell them, call your local ARC. ARC of Mississippi, ARC of Georgia, ARC of Tennessee. That I know their reputation. I may not know your state. But I know your ARC. And you contact that ARC, you give them the information of where you live, and they're going to put you in the right direction. So that's a great way of not knowing, it's another state. I can still guide you in the right direction. So, the opportunity to go to Cruising on the Coast, I may have touched, a few people by sharing my information. You never know where you'll find TARC.
You don't. And I'll tell you, there's no telling how many people you've touched. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the community, because you've been doing great work for a long time. I hope you continue to do it for a long time. And if you ever need any help from Ponchatoula, let me know, whether it's the podcast, my law firm, anything I'm involved with, our Rotary Club, etc. We're here for you. We support you 100%, and we thank you. So, folks, that was Kathleen Abels, the CEO of TARC, and we thank you for listening in here at the Ponchatoula Podcast. If you like Chinese food, then you're going to love today's Taste of Tangi. China Lotus Restaurant, located in Hammond on Robin Avenue, just about a block off of Morrison Boulevard, right behind First Bank and Trust, is a true treasure. And I say that not only because the food is phenomenal, but because it's a wonderful atmosphere, and it's a family-owned and family-run restaurant that's owned by one of my local heroes. You probably already know Miss Juliana Chan if you spent any time here in the Ponchatoula Hammond area. She's certainly a local icon. She's not only an accomplished businesswoman, she is an award-winning dancer. She's a phenomenal artist. When you go into her restaurant, you're going to see paintings and sculptures that she's created, and you're going to see tons of medals from her dance competitions on the wall. She's awesome, and she's also an incredible mother. She has raised, I believe, 5 wonderful, talented, good-hearted children. Several are friends of mine, and I've known them my whole life, and they're just great people. But that's not the reason that China Lotus Restaurant is the Taste of Tangi. The reason China Lotus Restaurant is the Taste of Tangi is because their food is phenomenal. Chef Andrew brings his creations all the way from China, where he and Miss Juliana are from. And he has just created the best Shanghai dumplings that you'll ever eat in your life. I've had delicious Chinese dumplings all over America, from the Chinatowns of San Francisco and New York to the best spots I could find in between. I'm addicted to dim sum and that type of food. And I can tell you, the very best pot stickers I've ever had in my life are right here in Hammond. They're delicious. The same could be said of their sesame chicken. It is sweet with just enough zing, and it's just, fried perfectly. honestly, it's delicious. Their wonton soup or war wonton soup is off the charts. Recently, when my little boy was sick and we got him some soup, and even though he didn't feel well, he gobbled it up. Believe it or not, he literally asked for it and ate cold soup for breakfast the next day because he liked it that much. True story. So China Lotus Restaurant here in Hammond, owned by Miss Juliana Chan, is an easy pick for Taste of Tangi. You know the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words? It's 100% true. I've seen that over my career as a personal injury attorney when I try cases. You can describe something all day long and you can pick the best words you can find in the dictionary, but it's not going to work as well as a photograph. An image just, we as humans are visual learners, and we just appreciate things with our eyes in a way that we can't with our ears and other senses. And I'll tell you, in my family, we prize our family photos above most things, most material possessions in the world, at least. My wife is fanatical about making sure that our boys are photographed at every stage of our life and that we get great family photos. Just last week, we took one for our family Christmas card, and she puts a lot of effort into what we wear, where we go, and most importantly, more important than those or any other factors from hair, makeup, etc., is who's taking the photograph. And that's why I'm excited to talk about Parker's Pick today, because Kaylee Norton Photography is a true gem. It is just a wonderful, wonderful product located right here in the Ponchatoula, Hammond area. You probably have heard of Kaylee Norton before. She's a pretty big deal. She's an accomplished photographer who's taken pictures all over the world. She's, very highly critically acclaimed, and that's no secret. But what I can tell you that you may not know, having now done numerous family sessions with her, is that she has just got a gentle touch with the family. She's great at making kids smile when they're in bad moods. If you're like me, my wife looks like a supermodel, so of course she likes having her photo taken. She's kind of a natural model at heart. If you've ever seen me, you know that I'm not. It's not comfortable walking around in the heat taking a photograph all the time. But Kaylee really puts you at ease, and let me tell you, most importantly, the photographs that you get when you're done are treasures. They're going to be prized above most anything else you have in life. So if you're in need of great family photography, portrait photography, photography of any kind, I would suggest that you check out Kaylee Norton Photography, and I can promise you, you will not be disappointed if you hire her. And that's why she's today's Parker's Pick. Because this show is new, any and all support is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already done so, number one, subscribe at the Apple Podcasts app or iTunes or Stitcher or Android, wherever you listen to podcasts. Number two, and this is important, write a 5-star rating and review the podcast. Number three, and this is the biggest, most important thing you could do, share it with your friends. We've got a Facebook page under the name The Ponchatoula Podcast. Check it out, like it, share it. You're going to see information about who we're interviewing, what's coming up. If you really want to get local news about Ponchatoula, Hammond, if you want to hear about local people here in Tangipahoa Parish, please support our podcast. We will be happy to share that information, but we need your help to make this thing a success. So thank you so much. I'm very excited to get going. I've lived here my whole life. I love this area, the people that live here, the things to do here, the food we cook here, etc. I could go on, but we'll do that later in subsequent episodes. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to share the Ponchatoula Podcast with you.